Xenoblade Chronicles X was originally released on the Wii U in 2015, and finally a decade later, we got an official release for the Nintendo Switch. Man, I almost had to emulate this game, thinking it would never come to the Switch, but here it is. I've put in almost about 10 hours, and so far I have a couple of things I wanted to talk about. So I've played every Xenoblade game that was on the Switch before Xenoblade X. I first played Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in 2018, and this game left a really good impression on me. So naturally, when Xenoblade 1 was re-released for the Switch in 2020, I played it and loved it as well. And I can say the same for Xenoblade 3, which came out in 2022. So after loving these 3 entries, I was excited when Nintendo announced that Xenoblade Chronicles X was also getting a re-release, and now that it's finally out, I can safely say that this game is very different. And I would have to argue it's different in a slightly negative way. Before all the Xenoblade warriors run to the comments, like in my last Xenoblade video, let me explain what I do like about this game. This world is really cool, and I like how there's a new city in the middle of an unknown part of this planet. And the combat is good as well. I won't go super into depth, but it's similar to other Xenoblade games. Your party auto attacks, and you have arts that you can use in battle. This game has a TP point system. Like I said, I won't go super into detail, but if you've played Xenoblade, you know how it goes. And also this game has guns, like straight up. Very different from Shulk's Monado, I tell you. And the music is very cool too. It's very rock inspired, and some of the tracks even have lyrics, even during battle. That is very new to me for a Xenoblade game. There's even like an online mode, which I was really surprised by. You can have up to 32 players apparently. That I will have to try. But with that being said, let's talk about some of the things I think the game could have done differently. And I'm mainly going to discuss the way this game handles its progression. So the game's story starts in space. Humans are in a galactic battle with aliens, and then we lose. Earth is destroyed, and now we have colonized a brand new planet, which we're calling Mira. Pretty straightforward. You create your character, and then you finally end up getting found by Elma, which is one of the main characters, and a member of Blade, which is like the new human military, to put it simply. You end up joining Blade as well, and that's when the story progression comes to a halt. You see, in this game there's a lot of filler. Now don't get me wrong, every Xenoblade game has filler, but Xenoblade X forces you to do it to progress the story. To my knowledge, this is the only game in the series that makes you do this. And I know some people might say, well, it's not that long and you might as well do it, you can miss some important details and characters. But listen, in my opinion, you should never force a player of your game to do chores to play the story. You have to understand, Xenoblade has been my comfort food game for a very long time. I play the game, enjoy the stories and characters, and have a good time. If I wanted to do the side stuff, then I would do it. Trust me, Xenoblade 2 is one of my favorite games, and I have gotten every single blade in that game. I know what filler is. If I didn't want to do the side stuff, then I wouldn't do it. I'll use this specific part of the game as an example. I wanted to do the next story mission, but I needed a survey completion of 15% on the map, which basically means doing random things like finding treasure and fighting monsters, basically just filling up your map and unlocking areas. But the problem with this is that the game just started, so I'm not a super high level, and some of these places have enemies that are very high level compared to what you are, so it's very hard to complete the survey task. And even if you try to run away from enemies, they will spot you. So in that case, let's try to defeat enemies, let's engage in battle. If you lose all of your HP, the game will force you to respawn. Even if you think your party members can still win, if they don't win within 30 seconds, you're forced to lose. I think this is the only Xenoblade game that does this, so it makes it less enticing to try and fight high level enemies before this can happen. And because this can happen, I find myself avoiding so many monsters because I know that I can straight up die. Unlike in other Xenoblade games where I feel like sometimes I have a fighting chance. And you might be asking yourself, why am I even getting close to these high level monsters? Well, that's because some of the places you have to go to in order to get the survey percentage are in areas with monsters way beyond my level. So half of the time I spend playing this game is just reading the insane amount of text tutorials and just grinding to level up where monsters don't one-shot me while I'm trying to pass them, so I could maybe find a treasure that ends up not even being there. And then the whole point why I'm even doing this in the first place is just to get the survey so that I can do the damn story, and by the time I'm finally doing the main story, I grinded so much that now the enemies are super easy. So I'm not sure if this game makes you do this because it's scared of you being too underlevel for the next story mission or something, but just let me find out for myself. I mean, this happens all the time. In other Xenoblade games, if your level doesn't match the enemies on your way to the next mission, then obviously you're not ready for it. And if the game gets too difficult and I keep dying because I'm underleveled, then that would be my own fault. And the reason why I want to do the main story is because I like the Xenoblade stories. I like the motives, the characters, the party members. sometimes these games feel quite high budget at times, I just get really connected to them and their goals. So I start asking myself, why do I not feel connected to these characters? I feel like the issue is just the amount of time I spent just doing other things because the game makes me. It doesn't help that my character is mute and has no personality whatsoever. I know that Xenoblade games take a little bit to truly pick up and get going, but come on man, at this point of the game with the amount of time I spent already, where's my emotional connection? Where are my character motives? Where's my love triangle? Where's the part where we gotta save the world from some crazy entity? Like I said, I'm super early in the game, so hopefully these things will come as I do the story. I do intend on finishing the game. I mean, hopefully it gets good. I want to end up going through some deep shit and fighting God just like in every Xenoblade game. I mean, it's so weird to me. I went into this game completely blind. I didn't watch any trailers because I knew I was going to buy it. But now I do want to watch the trailers because what did they even show? Just players doing tutorials and completing surveys? To be fair, I'm barely scratching the surface of this game, so I think eventually things are going to get moving and the story will pick up. But this is a very different Xenoblade game compared to 1, 2, and 3. I feel like it might take itself a little bit too seriously at times. Like, there's this whole thing with classes and divisions and like, what even is all of this? I do know that eventually you can fly robots or something, but I'm not at that part yet, but it sounds cool. One last thing I should mention as well is the graphics. Now, I know this game is on Switch and this game doesn't look terrible. I mean, look at Pokemon. When I saw that trailer for A and Z, I was like, Game Freak, what are you doing? Monolith Soft is dropping bangers like this and you're a billion-dollar company? But in my opinion, this game still doesn't look as good as I think it can. I know this game came from the Wii U, and to my knowledge, I know the character models have been improved, but maybe that's about it. I will still die on this hill and say that Xenoblade 2 is still the best looking Xenoblade game on Switch. Even better than Xenoblade 3 at times. I mean, seriously, I don't know what the development team was on, but they were cooking hard. I mean, look at Oriya compared to a similar looking location in Xenoblade X. Look at this forest in Xenoblade 2. You see all the vegetation and shadows and lighting bouncing off the lamps and the shine and the leaves and the fog. Even the water looks good. I mean, come on, Xenoblade X? What is this? Everything just looks a little bit flatter. Yes, I know it's a remaster and not a remake. I know this game wasn't made for the Switch from the ground up. I made the same comparison when Xenoblade Chronicles 1 came out on an older video, and I got some slack for saying the graphics looked the worst, even though the Xenoblade 1 port was newer than Xenoblade 2. But I'm sorry, I can tell you that Xenoblade 1 and X do for a fact look worse because they're ports from older systems. I'm not saying the games look bad, I mean especially compared to the Pokemon games, they still look good. It's impressive they got this running on Switch. I'm just saying, Xenoblade 2 and 3 just look better, that's all. I mean, look at Mio's hair when she's running, and then look at Elma's hair when she's running. The cars can't even run into you in Xenoblade X for whatever reason. I mean, I know it's probably to save performance costs by not adding collision to the vehicles, but I mean, come on. At least have the cars push your character out of the way or something. There's also some frame drops, but every Xenoblade game has this issue, unfortunately. Hopefully when the Switch 2 gets released, we will get improved versions of these games because that's all I really want. I want these games to run better, smoother, and at a higher resolution. I know that Xenoblade 2 has a major issue when the game can look really blurry in some larger areas because the game will downscale its resolution if there's a lot going on screen. But anyway, I've been ranting long enough. I know the Xenoblade fanboys will not like this video. I mean, I call myself a Xenoblade fanboy as well, but I think it's appropriate to criticize the things that you like. And just remember, at the end of the day, it's my opinion. I do like this game. I will finish it. There's just some things about it. And one more thing I liked about this game is the variety. One minute we're at war with aliens just like in Halo, the next I'm climbing mountains like it's Skyrim, next it's Gears of War, and then I'm playing NBA 2K, and then finally GTA 5 because this game has LA in it. I don't know why, but it's honestly kind of cool. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.